Tell me what this emotion, tell me about these tears.
Victor Wembanyama crying at a podium has a lot of people talking, and many of them want to know what he said about his height and where it all came from. We are going to look at the moments he showed those tears, the road he took to 7'4", and what he has actually told us about getting there. So let's start with the night the cameras caught Victor Wembanyama wiping his eyes. The tears everyone keeps talking about. There is a picture of Victor Wembanyama that keeps coming back around. He is standing up, his head is down, his hand is near his face, and there are tears. It has happened more than once. That is part of why people keep asking about it. Go back to June 2023. Wembanyama is in the building for the NBA draft. Adam Silver walks to the podium and says his name with the first pick. And right there, before he even shakes a hand, the kid starts to cry. He talked about it that same night. He said the tears came from a dream he had carried for years.
I've dreamed of it so much now, I gotta cry, man.
He also said he knew the tears were coming. He said every time he pictured the moment, he felt them building up.
I got these little tears in my eyes, and I knew that I wasn't gonna let them in my eyes.
So the crying is not new. It was there on the first big night of his pro life, and it would come back again. Now jump ahead almost 3 years. It is May 31, 2026. The San Antonio Spurs are in Oklahoma City for Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. They beat the Thunder 111-103. And when that final horn sounds, Wembanyama loses it. He bends over, he yells at the floor. He pulls his jersey up over his face. He grabs his teammates. The tears come hard, and the cameras catch all of it. Videos of the moment spread fast, showing a 22-year-old falling apart from joy in the middle of the court. When he sat down with reporters after, he was still trying to hold it together. He talked about what winning a title would mean to him.
Winning the Larry O'Brien, it's a childhood dream.
And then he said the line that a lot of people pointed to.
It's hard to put into words. It's almost like the meaning of my life,
That is a heavy thing to say. He said it through a wet face, with his voice shaking. He told reporters he had not built up his emotional reservoir yet, and that it was not big enough to hold all of it back. His teammate De'Aaron Fox saw the same thing the rest of us did. He said Wembanyama was choked up in the locker room, talking about how badly he wanted to win.
He said he just wants to win so bad. This is the meaning of his life, even, is what he said.
So now we have two big moments of tears. The draft, the finals trip. Both times, the same young man, breaking down in front of everyone. And the whole time, there is one fact sitting next to him that nobody can ignore: his size. The Spurs list him at 7'4". That number has followed him everywhere he goes. It is in every story written about him. It is the first thing people say when his name comes up. When the Spurs first measured him at the 2023 draft, they put him at 7'3.5" with his shoes off. Since then, the number has only gone up. Most spots now list him at 7'4". There have even been reports of him being measured at 7'5" at points, before going back to 7'4". That is the strange part. His height keeps changing. He keeps growing, and every time it ticks up, people ask the same thing. How? How does a person get that tall? And how does he stay that good while doing it? So you have these two things mixed together: a player who cries in big moments, and a body that keeps stretching higher than almost anyone who has ever played. People online have tied those two things together and started asking if there is some secret behind the size, some routine, some set of habits he follows. And that brings us to the heart of all this. People want to know if Victor Wembanyama broke down in tears while telling the world the things he did to reach 7'4". To get there, we have to go back to the start, before the tears, before the podium, back to a kid in France who would not stop growing. The kid who would not stop growing. Victor Wembanyama was born on January 4, 2004 in Le Chesnay, France. And to understand his size, you have to look at the people who raised him, because the answer starts in his own home. His family is full of tall, sporty people. His mother, Elodie, played basketball and later coached it. His father, Felix, was a track and field athlete. His sister, Ave, plays the game for a living too. So when you wonder where the height came from, the first place to look is the dinner table he grew up at. He did not even start with basketball. As a little kid, he played football, standing in goal as a keeper. He also did judo. He did not lock in on basketball until he was around 7 years old, and the first person who taught him the game was his own mother. By the time he was 10, he was already about 5'11". Think about that. A 10-year-old, nearly 6 feet tall. Scouts noticed him for his size, and he joined the youth setup at a club called Nanterre in '92. He was tall, but he was not just a tall kid standing under the rim. He was learning real skills, the kind guards have. His pro story moved fast after that. He made his pro debut at 15 years old, which made him one of the youngest players ever to step on the floor in a major European competition. He bounced through a few French clubs. There was Nanterre, then a team called Asvel, where he won a French league title. Along the way, he picked up Best Young Player honors more than once. But the year that changed everything was his season with Metropolitans '92. From 2022 to 2023, he put up huge numbers. He averaged 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game and led the league in a bunch of stats. He won the league MVP, the youngest ever to do it. Then he played a couple of games in the United States against a top young team, and he dropped 37 and 36 points in front of NBA scouts. After that, the hype was out of control, and the height kept climbing through all of it. He was still a teenager, still growing, while he was already starring against grown men. That is part of why his number has never sat still. He was not a finished body. He was a kid who was still being built right in front of us. Now here's the thing about being that tall. It is a gift, but it comes with a bill. Doctors and trainers have long noted that very tall people can face more wear on their joints and other health risks tied to their size. And Wembanyama has dealt with his share of body trouble. Even before the NBA, he had a stress fracture in his leg, a finger break, and a few other knocks. The Spurs took him first overall in the 2023 draft, and the rookie season was everything people hoped. He played 71 games. He averaged 4 points, 10 rebounds, and a league-best 3 blocks. He became the unanimous Rookie of the Year. He was the first rookie ever to make the all-defensive first team. For a guy his size, he was doing things nobody had seen. He was shooting threes. He was handling the ball. He was blocking shots from all over the floor. His second season from 2024 to 2025 showed the gift and the bill at the same time. He was even better on the floor, averaging around 24 points and 11 rebounds. He made his first All-Star team, but then it stopped. He was shut down for the rest of the year with a blood clot in his right shoulder. It was a scary thing, the kind of issue that can be serious for anyone, and some have pointed out that taller people can be more likely to deal with that kind of clot. He came back for the 2025 to 2026 season, and he came back as a monster. He averaged 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game. He became the youngest player ever to win Defensive Player of the Year, and the first one ever to win it with every single vote. He made All-NBA first team, and he dragged the Spurs deep into the playoffs for the first time in years. So by the time he is crying at the podium, this is who he is. A French kid from a tall family, a goalkeeper turned judo student turned basketball giant. A body that keeps stretching, with a few health scares mixed in, and one of the best players alive at 22 years old. But none of that yet tells us about rituals. None of it explains the idea that he did certain things on purpose to reach his height. To get at that, we have to look at the stuff he does away from the games, the routines and the practices that have made people whisper about a secret. That is where we go next. The things he does behind the scenes. Here's where the story gets interesting, because Victor Wembanyama is not a normal athlete in the way he treats his body and his mind. He does things that most players do not, and once people heard about some of these habits, they started wondering if his size was connected to them. Let's start with the one that got the most attention. In 2025, Wembanyama spent part of his summer in China, training with Shaolin monks, not for a photo, for real practice. He went there to learn from them and to work on his mind. He talked about it when reporters asked. He said the language was a real wall, since most of the monks did not speak English or French, so he had to work hard just to understand the lessons.
It's been a really interesting experience because, one of the main factors was people don't speak English over there, or French, obviously. So, what I could understand from their teachings was really, I had to really interpret that,
He said it helped him a lot in a year where he had to grow as a person and look hard at himself.
It's helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot, especially in a year, year 2025, where I had to grow a lot and reflect on myself, so that was helpful in that way.
So that is one piece, a trip to a temple, quiet practice, working on the mind. Now here's another. His teammates say one of the strangest things about him is how flexible his body is. On Spurs Media Day, when people were asked for a fun fact about him, a lot of them brought up the same thing.
I was doing Spurs Media Day, and so I was interviewing all the players. Tell me, a fun fact about Wemby that we might not know. About half of them were talking about his flexibility in some sort.
They were not talking about touching his toes. They were talking about him doing the splits, a 7'4" man, dropping into the splits, the kind of thing a gymnast does. There is yoga in his routine too. He stretches in ways that giant bodies are not supposed to move. And the way people describe him says a lot. One person on that same clip said folks call him an alien, but he is more like a machine that keeps upgrading itself.
People describe him as an alien. I think he's more like an AI bot because this is the worst version we're ever going to see of him. See, they keep saying this is the worst version of ChatGPT we're ever going to see. This is the worst version of Wemby we're ever going to see.
So now look at the full picture of his habits. He trained with monks. He practices mindfulness. He does yoga and stretches into the splits. He plays chess. He took up martial arts. He is careful about what he eats and how he sleeps. He treats his body and brain like a project he is always working on. This is the soil where the rumors grow. When a person is this tall, this flexible, this dialed in, and this private about his routines, the mind starts filling in blanks. People see the monks and the stretching and the strange flexibility, and they start to wonder, what exactly is this guy doing? Is there some routine he follows that the rest of us do not know about? Is the height part of the plan? It does not help that he keeps growing. As we covered, the Spurs measured him at 7'3.5" at the draft, and the number has crept towards 7'5" in some reports since. So in people's minds, the story writes itself. He does all these special things, and his height keeps going up. The two must be linked, right? He has also talked about getting stronger on purpose, since smaller players try to bully him. He has said he is building his body up and that he will get there. So there is real planned work going into his frame. He is not just floating along on God-given size. He puts in effort, and he says so out loud. And he is honest about the mental side too. He has said he refuses to hide his feelings on the court. That emotion is part of his power, not a weakness. After tough nights, he keeps it plain and simple, like the time he flatly owned a bad game.
Every team guards differently, you know. I'm gonna figure it out. It's I was bad tonight. It's not more complicated than that.
So we have a guy who works on everything. His mind, his body, his feelings, his flexibility, and a height that keeps stretching. That mix is exactly why a title can be written the way this one is. It feels like there must be a routine behind it all. But routines for what? Exactly that is the question we are circling. Because doing yoga and visiting monks is one thing. Doing rituals to actually grow taller is a very different claim. We are about to reach the part of the story where all that emotion finally pours out. And once we see why it really poured out, the rest starts to make sense. The loss and the breakthrough. Now we get to the heart of the tears. Because the crying did not come out of nowhere. There were two moments close together in time that pushed Victor Wembanyama past the point of holding it in. One was painful, one was joyful. And both happened in front of cameras. Start with the painful one. On December 16, 2025, Wembanyama learned that his grandmother had passed away back in France. He found out earlier that same day, and that night he still suited up and played. It was not a normal game either. It was the Emirates NBA Cup Final played in Las Vegas against the New York Knicks. He came off the bench since he was on a minutes limit after coming back from an injury. He played around 25 minutes and finished with 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks. The Spurs lost the game, 124-113, but the score is not what people remember. After the game, he sat down to talk to reporters, and the tears came almost right away. He fought them, he looked down, he went quiet, and then after just a question or two, he said he had lost somebody that day. He answered a little more, then cut the session short and walked out. Think about what that is. A 21-year-old who got the worst kind of news in the morning, then went out and played the best players in the world at night, then sat down and broke in front of the cameras. The tears that night were not about basketball. They were about a grandmother, an ocean away, who was gone. That is one half of the emotional story. Now here's the other half, and it lands just months later. Fast forward to the playoffs in 2026. The Spurs are on a run nobody expected. They are young. People keep saying they do not have enough playoff experience, but they keep winning. They beat tough teams, and they reach the Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the team that won the title the year before. The series goes the full 7 games, and in Game 7 on the road, in the building of the defending champs, the Spurs win it. Wembanyama is named the Western Conference Finals MVP. He averaged around 27 points, 11 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks for the series. And when the buzzer sounds, all of it comes out. This is the breakdown the title is built around. He doubles over, he screams, he cries. He hugs his teammate Stephon Castle and cries into his chest. He finds his father, Felix, and shares a moment with him. The young man who lost his grandmother in December is now crying for a whole different reason in May. In the press conference, he was raw and open. He talked about how much he wanted this, and how he could not even hold the feeling.
C'est de pas savourer. Trop dur. J'ai pas encore construit mon réservoir à émotions, il n'est pas encore assez grand, c'est impossible de pas savourer, ça déborde.
He talked about his teammates and how much he loved them.
Really, it's you work all these hours we put in. it's for this type of emotions. Like I want that. I want to win so bad. It's like my life depends on it.
And he talked about pushing through the hardest stretch of his life to get there.
I learned about myself. Since you asked, I would say what I learned is I can go through hurdles that I didn't know those hurdles could get so high. You know, it's just pushing through, you know.
His teammate De'Aaron Fox spoke about why the emotion makes sense and what it is like to play next to it.
Like you said, he wants to win that bad. And you don't see that out of a lot of people. And the way that he approaches the game, you see that from the moment that he steps foot, not even the moment that he steps foot on the court, when he steps foot in the practice facility, you know, the way he takes care of his body, the way that he works on his game, the amount of time that goes into film.
So look at what Fox said there. He pointed to the way Wembanyama takes care of his body and the time he puts into his game. That is the closest anyone in this story comes to talking about his routine. And notice what it is about. It is about working to win. It is about being great at basketball. It is not about growing taller. So now we have the full emotional picture. A grandmother's death in December that made him cry through a finals trip in May that made him cry through a win. Two breakdowns, both real, both caught on camera, both deeply human. And in both of those moments, what did he actually talk about? He talked about his dream, he talked about his family, he talked about his teammates, he talked about loss and about wanting to win. He did not stand up and reveal a list of things he did to reach 7'4", which leaves us with one job left. We have seen the tears, we have seen the height, we have seen the habits. Now we have to put them side by side and answer the real question that the title asks. So let's do that. So what is the truth behind? Now we lay it all out on the table. The title says Victor Wembanyama broke down in tears while revealing the rituals he did to be 7'4". We have gone through the story, so let's split that claim into its parts and check each one. First part, did he break down in tears? Yes, that part is true, and it is true more than once. He cried at the 2023 draft when his dream came true. He cried in December 2025 after his grandmother died, and he played anyway. And he cried in May 2026 when the Spurs punched their ticket to the finals. The tears are real. Nobody is making those up. Second part, the rituals he did to be 7'4". This is where the title and the facts split apart. Because when you look at the research, there is no sign that Victor Wembanyama did any rituals to reach his height. His size comes from a place we already covered. His family, his mother played basketball, his father did track and field, his sister plays pro ball. He was already 5'11" at 10 years old. That is genetics. That is a tall family passing down a tall body. There is no routine in the world that turns a person into a giant. You cannot stretch or chant or train your way to 7'4". The bones are the bones now. The title is clever, and I will give it that. It takes two true things and ties them together to make a third thing that is not true. He does have routines. He trained with Shaolin monks. He does yoga. He can drop into the splits. He plays chess. He works on his mind and his body all the time. Those are real rituals, but they are not rituals to grow taller. They are rituals to stay healthy, to stay flexible, to keep his mind calm, and to keep getting better at basketball. The monks were about his mind, not his height. The stretching keeps a huge body moving well. It does not add inches. Third part, did he reveal these rituals while crying? No. Put the two emotional moments back under the light. In December, he cried because he lost his grandmother, and he barely spoke before leaving the room. In May, he cried because he was going to the finals, and he talked about his dream, his family, his teammates, and how badly he wanted to win. In neither moment did he sit there and explain a secret method behind his size. The tears and the talk about his routines come from totally different days and totally different reasons. The title stitches them together. Real life keeps them apart, so here's the honest verdict. The tears are true, the height is true, the routines are true, but the link the title draws between them. The idea that he cried while telling us how he made himself 7'4" does not hold up. His height is a gift from his family, not a reward for a ritual. His tears are about love and loss and a lifelong dream, not about revealing a height secret. And maybe that is the better story anyway, because what we really watched, across all those moments, was a young man being honest about his feelings. He has said he will not hide his emotions, that they are part of his strength. He told reporters that he wants the winning feeling again and again. He played through the death of his grandmother. He led a young team past the champs. He treats his body and mind like a craft. With monks and yoga and chess and film study, he is, as his own teammates said, the worst version of himself we will ever see, because he keeps getting better. He did not do rituals to become 7'4". He was born to be tall, and then he chose to become great. The tears were never the trick. They were just the truth. If you want more breakdowns like this one, drop a comment below and let us know who you want us to cover next. Love this video. Click on this card for more.